Hello and welcome to the first top 10 video on this channel. Today we're getting started with a good one. Today we've got the top 10 most controversial LEGO products of all time. So yeah, strap in, this will be a good one. Before we get started, if you agree with me, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe if you really like this list. If you disagree or if I missed something, let me know in the comments down below. Now with that boring promotions out of the way, let's get into this list. Number 10 we have LEGO Galador, which most of you are probably asking, what even is this? This was actually an attempt made in the early 2000s by LEGO to move away from just a brick building company and expand into different markets. Just to simplify, that means basically they tried to make action figures based off a show they were also producing, and well, it didn't go very well. We'll start basically with the show itself, which was kind of a weird idea. Basically the premise was these kids get teleported to another dimension that's ruled by this guy. And then they try to fix it by gathering keys to the door to Galador. And to be honest, I'm not going to bother telling you anything else about the story, well, because it made this list for a reason. In total, they produced 21 sets, or action figures, I suppose is what they're probably more accurately called. And basically, this was just a huge attempt and failure at expanding into the action figure market and moving away from bricks. Basically, the LEGO products themselves at this time weren't doing as good as they probably could be doing. It could be anything. It could be an interest in new toys or even the rise of video games around this time. But the bottom line is that LEGO was losing their popularity, and this was their attempt to gain some of it back. Not only do these things look super weird, but they were super cheaply made as well, and they're just really not good action figures, especially with the competing brands at the time. But hey, at least they learned from them. Oh, no, they didn't. Instead of discontinuing this line and just taking one on the chin, they actually turned this into the Ben 10 theme. Which, if you couldn't guess by it not still being around, it did not work and was also a drastic failure. Basically the same big mess that Galador was, but this time with a licensed theme like Ben 10 that wasn't their original idea. Now that I'm beating down on this Galador set that you guys probably didn't even know existed before this, we'll move into something a little more current. That's right, the most recent entry on this list, the 2025 Turbo Tank set number 75413. As of recording this thing came out literally 2 weeks ago, and this set has been dividing LEGO Star Wars fans since it was leaked early in July or June. Before the set was even released, it was super criticized because of how small it looked compared to any of the old turbo tanks. And in Canada, that smaller downgraded size landed at a $200 price tag. Although there was a small amount of fans that were looking forward to this new sleek, smaller, ideally better detailed design. It was kind of dividing the fan base until it actually released. This set basically has one major flaw, that when you pick it up from anything other than the bottom of it, it'll simply fall apart in your hands. You expect this from a display model or something like that that's a custom design, maybe by any of those brick customs manufacturers, but not from LEGO itself. I'm sure by now, if you're watching this list, you know what LEGO's slogan is, and I can assure you the Turbo Tank doesn't even come close to fitting that slogan. There's even a controversy as of recording this right now that stores are only putting one or two out to make the shelves seem less full so people are more inclined to buy it. At that point, it's just a rumor, but if that's true, this might be the worst set of Star Wars sets we've seen in a long time. This wave had so much potential, and honestly, it could have all made this list for being extremely overpriced. So that's kind of why this is at number 9. Moving on to number 8, we have the UCS Assault on Hoth. This is not a Star Wars list, although it does seem like it at this point. I promise you a little bit more themes on this list. This set came out in 2018 with set number 75098. This set was super controversial because, while technically not an Ultimate Collector's series, it was kind of in the middle and the first Master Builders series. At the time, it was listed as UCS. Now, this is controversial because of the accuracy of this set. Usually UCS means it's supposed to be directly related and a direct copy of something from a movie, but in this case it was pretty far off. Especially when you see the rating of this set as 12+, seemingly directing it towards more adult or older collectors. Tons of people were stoked for a brand new Hoth set that included a ton of Hoth scenes from the movies, including the hangar, the Wampa Cave, the cannons, and even the field generators. But I tell ya, when we got this set, those were the exact problems everyone had with it. From the weird side builds that were thrown into the way too tiny hangar door, these weren't even the main problems. The main problems being the field generators and the fact that they just completely skipped one. In the movie, it's super clear that there's 4 of them, while in this set, which is supposed to be a Ultimate Collector series, or at the very least Master Builders, could not get that right, and they only put in 3. Now sure, the play feature works fine, you can pop the shield generators off pretty easily, but this is supposed to be a set that looks really good when on display, and frankly it just doesn't. The mismatch of tiny little builds that do not even connect to each other is just kind of the icing on the cake. In Canada, it seems that you have to pay $100 for each field generator, so I guess that's why we only got 3 instead of 4. So if you bat a math, that means this set was $300. This stirred up a bunch of people being super mad online and slamming the set. It showed really how people felt about the early Master Builder series sets. I do think, in their credit, they have improved since then. But yeah, this one was kind of just a mess. Next at number 7, and not Star Wars related at all, we have The Simpsons as a theme. The Simpsons set itself isn't too controversial, but the show itself is really what created the problems people had with this set. The Simpsons show, while hilarious, is known for their crude humor and edgy jokes. The Simpsons like to make parodies of a ton of different events, and is generalized as more of an adult-style cartoon rather than for kids. All of this led to LEGO facing a bit of scrutiny for their choice in using The Simpsons in a kid-branded toy, which is LEGO's main demographic. Now, regardless of this controversy, we have gotten a few of these sets anyway, which most recently was a Quickie Mart and a Simpsons house even, which I think are both fantastic sets in my opinion. Even just this year, they released a Krusty Burger, so obviously LEGO isn't too worried about people's opinions, which based on their pricing of late isn't really a shocker to me anyway. And they aren't listening to their buyers, which also doesn't shock me at all. Basically, to sum this whole thing up, it was controversial to make a set on a show that wasn't necessarily kid-friendly. But I've got my little jab in, we can move on to number 6, the Creator Tiger, set number 31129. Now, for those of you that don't know, on the surface, this set looks pretty cool, and based on the box art, it's actually a really good-looking set. The Tiger looks good on the front of the box, and the alternate builds on the back looks even better, or just as good. And for $65 Canadian, even the price per piece is good, even in Canada. Why is this set on here anyway? Oh yeah, of course. As some of you will know, this thing has an actual asshole. I honestly have no idea who approved the design for this set, but personally I think it's hilarious. As you can probably figure out, a lot of parents weren't too happy with this, and when it came out, it kind of blew up on the internet. People decided to call out LEGO for their choice in autonomy in this one particular set. I just kind of wish this came out on April 1st. I think it would have been even better. With it coming out on April 1st, April 2nd would have been even funnier when it was still on store shelves. I mean, really, there's not much more to say on this. It's a cool Tiger, and maybe they could have just not added that extra detail on the back. At number 5, we have Jabba's Palace, specifically the one from 2011, set number 9516. Now, this set has a few things that all kind of seem to stem back to minifigures, and then the shape of the build itself. The Ula minifigure as well. I think that's it. The green one. I'm sure you can guess why. Ula in Return of the Jedi has probably a less than favorable job in the realm of Star Wars, even before dropping to her death. Some people in the LEGO community thought these figures were wildly inappropriate. Personally, I don't really see that big of an issue. They're accurate to the movie, but nonetheless, LEGO did what LEGO does best, and they listened to they just released it 14 years later, locked behind a $600 price tag in the Jabba sail barge. At least Princess Leia anyway. I don't think we've gotten the green one since then. Slave Leia being in this set was kind of controversial because it seems like LEGO would kind of want to steer clear of the whole slave thing, but we'll see later on this list that you have no idea what LEGO will actually put in one of these sets. Now on to number 4, and maybe my favorite set on this entire list would be Palpatine's arrest, or the murder of nearly everyone else in the room. So yeah, this set on its head is not only super cool, but you also see a feature that have the minifigure get disfigured. So if you're any sort of Star Wars fan, you'll know that only 2 people leave this room alive and only 1 unscathed. That's right, Palpatine kills nearly everyone immediately, and you can recreate this for your own entertainment. The best part is there's a play feature that lets you throw Mace Windu out of the window into a 20,000 story freefall. And if that's not enough murder for you, you can shoot the lightning back at Palpatine and have his face disfigured by flipping his head around to the other side. Yeah, so Palpatine's arrest, understandably, is controversial when you consider LEGO's generally kid-friendly theme. I will say the 2025 August wave of LEGO Star Wars sets seems pretty Order 66-y to me, but that's pretty much the closest we've gotten to Order 66 outside of these sets. But yeah, there's a reason LEGO hasn't remade this set, but who knows, maybe it's coming in 2026. Kind of crazy that this was ever made at all, but I'm lucky enough to own it actually. Now onto the top 3, where if you can believe it, none of them are Star Wars sets, so there you go. At number 3, we have LEGO Overwatch. This one's a bit of a weird one, but pretty high on this list for a reason. LEGO historically has always stayed away from shooter games like Call of Duty and Halo, which is why Mega Bloks picked these teams up actually. So what exactly is Overwatch? Well, it's a shooter game. So then why did they do this instead of anything else? Well, based on my limited knowledge of Overwatch, I don't think there's any blood, and the style is more like a cartoon. Actually, now before you correct me, it does have blood, so I'm not sure what the deal is here. And by deal, I don't mean why it's controversial, I mean I don't know why this is any different than any other game. Now, as of right now, they've actually stopped the production of these sets to re-evaluate their partnership. Basically, they're facing some backlash for a shooter game being made into LEGO and are doing quite their best to discontinue the line quietly. There's also the issue of reported cultural issues at Activision, which pushed LEGO even farther from the theme. My theory is that they had no connection to military, so they felt that this LEGO set was okay, but Activision being accused of certain, well, we'll just leave it at discrimination, was pretty much their main factor in the controversy, as well as why these sets are being cancelled and pulled from shelves. I'm pretty sure what you all can guess is number 2 or number 1, and at number 2 we have the LEGO Technic Osprey. It's kind of funny that LEGO ever actually considered this based on the model we have in front of us that you can see on the screen here. I mean, this set is just, it is a military vehicle. There's no way around it. This is what they use in the military. I'm pretty sure the military is the only place that actually uses these. And don't get me wrong, I think this thing is sweet, but there's no way LEGO's rules, their internal rules, allow for any military vehicles to be released, and this is just exactly what that is. In fact, this set was so controversial that they actually canceled it entirely 10 days before it was set to release, so only a few actually exist, but they do exist. There's a bunch of them out there. They were ready to go for sale, so. And believe it or not, I actually happen to have, no, I'm kidding. There's no way I have this set. It's way too niche. It wasn't even on store shelves, but if any of you have it, let me know. I don't know what they were thinking, to be honest. Even the German Peace Society got involved, pointing out that LEGO's values included never releasing a military vehicle. They knew that in their rule set there was a strict no military rule when designing sets, and they thought by adding orange stripes to the side that people would forget magically that these are pretty much exclusively used by the military. I will say sometimes they've been pretty sneaky about putting it into the creator line, like this Apache helicopter pretty much, and there's a few more that I'll show on screen now. But yeah, I don't know why they thought they'd get away with this. This is like blatantly a military vehicle. I guess the reason they thought they could get away with this is that in 2013 they actually did release kind of their take on an Osprey in Lego City, but it was directly targeted towards forestation. There were stickers and everything, so maybe I do kind of see how they thought they could get away with it, but they did not change this thing enough. As you can see, there's nothing resembling a military Osprey from this Lego City set, whereas the Technic one looks exactly like it's pulled straight from a tarmac. I will say I do have this heliplane too, and it's pretty cool as it is, so if you really want an Osprey, I'd say this is a pretty good substitution for that. And now finally, the most controversial LEGO product ever made are the LEGO Indiana Jones sets. And before you get up all in arms, let me explain. Pretty much everything we've covered on this list all pertain to this theme together. I'm talking military, I'm talking questionable depictions of historic people or cultures, everything in this set. Oh yeah, and then one of the sets even includes a vehicle that I can't even say the name of the group that used them, but it rhymes with this board game. Just for that alone, I mean, it had to be top 3, so yeah. I just want to preface before I dig too hard into this that I actually like these movies, and I think the LEGO sets for the most part are pretty good, especially this UCS one. I think it's really cool. However, they carried some more controversial characters and topics that especially people today would have a huge problem with, and they do have a huge problem with. We probably introduce every single set in this line at one point or another, but I'm just going to focus on 2 main sets in this series. The first one is the cancelled Temple of Doom set, and it was pegged as bad for the representation of Indian people and a terrible depiction of their culture as said online. I mean, that's what the movies did, so well accurate. It's still kind of wild that LEGO decided to use them in a set. On top of that, the main villains are these guys, and LEGO decided it probably wasn't the best idea to release this, which probably was a good call in the end. Yeah, so this set got canned way before it got released, but we do have pictures of the box art and what it would have looked like, but that's pretty much all we have for this set. I don't know if it ever got half released or if there's copies out there. I don't think so, but yeah, anyway, we'll move on to the next part. So here we get to the main event. Remember how we talked about the military? Well, LEGO decided to make a set with the worst military they could possibly get based on. This is the part where we go back to the board name. Yeah, this plane was a prototype by the Yahtzees, and the mechanic is in this set. So if you don't know, in the movie, the mechanic is actually one of these guys, and they put him in the LEGO set. So technically we have a LEGO. Yeah, so never mind their military rule. They blew that out of the water. They really forgot everything when making this set. Just basic human, like, understanding, especially in a kid's product. Like, I mean, just look at the ages. The age range is 8 to 14, so yeah. And then I'm not even going to mention the fact that this plane was a concept art for that said German army that they never actually used, but they were the ones designing it, so that's why it's You will. That's why it's maintained by that kind of mechanic. So yeah, that's my list. Let me know, did you agree? Am I an idiot? Is there other things? And what's the next list you want to see? I really value you guys' feedback. So I also want to know if you guys want to see more videos like this or back to reviews. I think these videos are more fun personally, but yeah, let me know in the comments, and thank you. Have a good day.